Welcome to the Pull Podcast. I am your host, Big Jack. Today with us we have Johnny Manziel. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thanks for having me, my friend.
Yeah, of course. Cannot believe you're sitting here in front of me, honestly, man. I remember sitting at my house, getting phone calls from my dad, so excited for the Saturday that was coming up because he wanted to, we're going to barbecue, Johnny Football's on, and all this stuff. And, man, you made college football so much fun to watch and just football in general. So, to have you here and to be able to hear your story is just incredible. So thank you again.
I appreciate that. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. What we deal with is real stories, raw struggles, powerful comebacks, right? That's sort of like what our main focus is. And we're an addiction-based podcast, and you've had some public displays of that over the years, and so kind of wanted to get your version of everything, right? And I was hoping maybe the way we do it. I'm part of a 12-step program, so there's always like that, like what it was like, what happened, and what it's like now sort of approach to the story. And if you wouldn't mind kind of just giving us a take back, a little bit about your childhood, a little bit about like high school, and then maybe when you started getting into all that stuff.
Yeah, of course. I grew up in Texas, born and raised. My family has been in East Texas forever, it feels like. I grew up, I have a younger sister, who's 3 years younger than me. Parents were together the whole time that, I was growing up, through high school, through everything. But a really, really close family. My grandpa has a lot of brothers and sisters. My dad has 2 sisters. Big Lebanese family.
Mm-hmm.
So we did, everything together. Grew up, my dad worked in the car business. Gone 6 days a week, 7 in the morning until 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock at night.
Mm-hmm.
My mom worked in real estate a little bit, but was mostly around with me and my sister. And I spent a ton of time growing up with my grandparents. Lived in East Texas, in Tyler, until I was 12 or 13 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And that for me was great. I feel like, a lot has been made about my family wealth, or like how it was for us growing up. And people always look at me and will say, oh, he's comes from an oil family and this or that, but like the reality of what my upbringing was not that. My grandpa definitely has some money, not what you're compared to seeing out here in the area that we're in right
mm-hmm.
now, or extreme wealth that you see in New York or LA, or but a little bit of money. But my dad was independent in the way of not really wanting to lean on that or depend on that. So we grew up, I would say, very middle class.
Mm-hmm.
And I think obviously through my story is, college went on and things that I were doing to try and justify things that were going on. It's one of those things that, you try to stretch the truth in certain areas to be able to get away with things that you're doing, especially with the money and stuff that was going on in college. But grew up very middle class, very, very family oriented too. Like I said, as a kid growing up, I played a lot of sports from the time I was in. Could play t-ball to we would hunt a lot being from Texas. So I would go to the deer lease, through elementary school with my grandpa on weekends. He'd pick me up on a Thursday after school, and we would drive 5-6 hours to San Angelo, Texas, and we had a deer lease out there. And I spent a lot of my time growing up, and really how I got into football and sports was through my grandpa, Jerry. And we would go to the deer lease for a weekend and just be stuck in front of a TV during the middle of the day when you're not hunting, and we're watching, Big 12 games, Nebraska and, Texas A&M and all these teams, and fell in love with the game of football to the point of where, my grandpa was older at that time, but not too old, and he'd throw the football a little bit, but he had a bad rotator cuff, so he couldn't throw for very long, and then he would just get tired out. So I'd be just out in this deer leash, just punting the football up in the air to myself, and really kind of where the love for sports and watching sports and being a fan of it came from him and spending time with him. So, that was a lot of my life growing up from, the time I was 7, 8 years old to, 13. And, my mom took me around everywhere for travel baseball and all this stuff. And I was really just sports oriented, year round. I loved it from the very beginning.
Sure.
And, luckily my dad was a college golfer, and got me into golf at an early age too, to where on Sundays after we would go to church, we would play a family scramble, to where
Nice.
my dad and my sister would play me and my mom, and we'd go play 18 holes every Sunday for the most part, and like competitive, fun, but something I look back at now and like very fortunate, because as you get later into my story, I think something that's helped me an unbelievable amount mentally is golf. And I think without like having done this stuff as a kid, I wouldn't be able to be in the position where I'm at now with it, like having fun and really using it as a tool for my health, my well-being, my mental health.
Sure.
So that was like a lot of my life until maybe like 13, and then got hit with some news that we were moving. And we moved 5.5 hours away to a town called Kerrville, Texas, which is outside of San Antonio in the hill country. That's a real shock for you as you're a kid, being around that age and like really feeling like, starting to get into girls, and you're getting into middle school, and you have all these plans with people that you've grown up with.
Sure,
and
I was gonna
sports
say.
are really taking off.
Your
and like,
friend group, right?
your core, right?
Everything you know.
It really was shocking, and it happened like really quick. And we end up going to this town, 5.5 hours away from my grandparents. All the hunting, everything that I'd grown up doing was kind of just like, it was just
Derailed.
It changed,
Yeah.
know, and it was an interesting shift for me. I think, I went from a town of like 100,000 people in Tyler to 20,000 people in Kerrville, and it was a lot more country. It was a lot just different of a vibe than where I had originally grown up. Didn't have my grandparents there anymore, my grandpa there to do the things I'd been doing. So it was a little bit of like a shock for me. And I remember like as I was getting into my own at this new school, like, maybe I started to feel like a little bit different, like started to take on a little bit different of a personality and stuff, being a new kid in a new school, and the way I was raised, not really taking shit from anybody or like, things like that. I feel like I started to get a little bit like tougher, a little bit rough around the edges a little bit.
Sure.
And this is where I think a lot of like my personality started to develop, that people see on Saturdays, and the brash, like, kind of wild side that you would see that is, associated with me.
Yeah.
Came from.
It's just really interesting to hear you say that. Not to take you out of your story, but very similar things happened to me, right? I remember literally getting news in my dad was in finance, and he would, try to climb the corporate ladder and had to take jobs where they were available. From Philadelphia, ended up all the way out in California, but there were stops in the way, including Utah. And I remember vividly coming home one day and saying, we're moving to California. And like, I remember looking out the rear view mirror of that, like, what just happened? Right? What just happened? And I don't even think that, like, for me, I never really looked back on it as much as I do in recovery now, the effect that may have had on somebody. But the way you said having to, like, that personality stuff when you went to your new school, I remember thinking, like, I didn't want to be that guy in the middle of the year standing up in front of the class with the teacher around you saying, like, everybody welcome Jack to the class. Like, I didn't want all that attention initially. Like, I remember thinking, like, being super uncomfortable, and then trying to figure out what these people wanted to see, and that's who I became.
Yeah.
I
remember that first day of walking into class and being that person that you're, introduced as. The thing for me was I was always really excelled at sports from a young age. So like even being in Tyler growing up, like, I'm 11, but I'm playing on a 13-year-old baseball team.
Sure. So that's your in to become.
That's my in. And then you get to a new place in a new school, and you go to an open gym for the first day, or you get on a football field for the first day, and you're like, oh shit, like this guy can play. Mm-hmm. Like this guy's a really good athlete. So,
but then everybody wanted to be your friend, kind of,
yeah,
right?
For the most part, or people who you're coming in, you're taking their spot, or doing certain things that can always create animosity too. For a
Fair
level,
point.
Not everybody's going to love the new kid that comes in. So
Of course,
it has its things, and I think from the first. I was doing a lot of travel baseball. Baseball was really my thing growing up as a kid. That's where I think I excelled the most. Football was very new to me at that point in time, and like I loved it. It was a lot of fun and super interesting, but baseball was it for me and where I like really excelled.
Sure.
And my dad found a travel baseball team for me in Kerrville, and same kind of thing. Majority of the guys were a year or 2 years older. There was a couple kids that were my age, but not very many. And I remember warming up in the outfield with my dad the first day, and like these kids are dropping F-bombs, and like they're a lot more rough around the edges than anything
Sure.
that I was used to. And like, you know, now I'm 13, these guys are 14 and 15 and stuff, and you're getting into that age where when I got on this travel baseball team, these were a rowdy group of guys.
Yeah.
You know, you get from a country town that's small, and all these guys have older brothers, and they're already taught the ways of drinking or buying beer. Like, there's a kid that he's 15 years old, but he looks 25, and he's got a fake ID at 15 years old. So
He's got
like,
facial hair.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. It's the deepest voice. Like, he's 6'2" and 15, and like can walk into a gas station in one of these small towns and buy a 12-pack.
Sure.
So as I get around these guys, like, it was kind of like the innocence was gone very, very quick.
Yeah,
you know,
that
and as
makes
you're
sense.
going on these travel baseball runs and stuff, and you're getting out of the hotel at night and walking around the hotel where all these baseball teams are at, and you're taking beer out of the back of this is kind of where my intro into the party and into the drinking and, you know, this lifestyle kind of started. This hometown, you know, as you look back at it now, and you know, having partied around the world and party with a lot of people, like, there has to be something in the water in this place that just like creates a different breed of
Human beings.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like, really it does. So that was like my first real intro into, like, you know, really drinking or anything like that. And, you know, sports for me in this town really took off to a different level. I think being from, we were still a 4A high school, which at the time it's 5A, 4A, 3A, and all the way down. But
Sure.
4A is one from the top of the biggest schools in Houston and Dallas and San Antonio or wherever. So we were kind of just, you know, small town, but like still played San Antonio schools and got good competition. And, you know, I went into freshman year, and, you know, originally as I get to this school in 7th grade and I'm playing football, we're running like a option-based, like, you know, under center, faking a dive, running a 3, like, triple option type of offense. And it was like, wasn't very fun.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really enjoy it very much. Baseball was still great. And I get to high school, and they, like, our coaches from the summer between, you know, my 8th grade year and my 9th grade year, went to a clinic and figured out this spread offense where it was like really wide splits from your offensive linemen, 5 receivers, 4 receivers. You never went under center. You throw the ball a lot. You run it, you know, with wide splits from your offensive linemen, and you, like, go fast pace, and like a really, really cool, innovative offense that
Yeah.
a lot of teams in college were running around that time, but it was still new. So as I get into 9th grade now, I get put in a quarterback as this, like, kind of offense, and it was just like,
This is your style.
yeah, this was for me. So by the end of my freshman year, after playing on the freshman team, I was one of the only people that got called up to varsity just to, like, play receiver and whatever I could play, but, like, get some experience of playing with some older guys.
Yep.
And the same thing happened with baseball. I played on the JV team for the year, but the playoffs come, and I end up getting to actually playing right field. But, like, now I'm a freshman. I'm hanging around seniors,
Yeah.
and juniors,
And they're doing senior stuff.
they're doing senior stuff. And Kerrville is a town that it does have some wealth to it, and a lot of ranches and people that live on 40, 50, 60, 100 acres. And
No neighbors that are going to complain or shut it down.
no, you can go to a guest house on somebody's property and have parties with all the boys after Friday night games or baseball games on the weekend or whatever. So it is a very, like, you know, what you see and the
And out there in Texas, that Friday night lights vibe is legit. It's true.
It's very real.
Yeah, it's accurate.
Football is huge, especially in these small towns. It's like what the community lives for.
Sure.
Right? It's a huge deal. Like, you know, towards the end of my high school time there, and we're really well known, and we're going to the game before state every year. We have a really good team, and you're only losing once or twice a year, it rallies a community together to the point where businesses close down on Fridays and like
because everybody's at the game.
5, 6, 7,000 people at these games, standing room only, and like it's a big deal. So, I think getting on these teams early and excelling in sports also put me in a situation to be exposed to some things at an earlier age.
Sure.
And I think, as you see people doing certain things, whether it's smoking weed for the first time and you don't really know what it is, or drinking and this or that. And I think for me, a way to be accepted was to be like a wild drinker at the time. Like I remember back to being in high school as like a freshman, like drinking to just excess amounts, blacking out at a party, and then like getting like a real buzz and like kind of notoriety from it a little bit. Like,
yeah.
And you kind of like relish in it. And I think from the very like beginning of, being the younger kid, hanging out with the older guys, trying to be accepted, it's something I think I got like good at, and it was funny and like fun, and I was always a good time. And, that's kind of where that like side of like my life took shape. And like, you're doing so well playing football, and you're doing this in baseball, and things are great. My parents were, my dad especially was very strict on me from a school aspect. So, I was an AB student my entire school career, elementary, middle, high school. It just was what it was.
That's good.
If you came home, at a report card, like midway point, and you had a C, you were grounded until the next report card came out, and you had a B. And if you didn't have a B, you were grounded again until the next one, and so on and so forth. And
wow.
That's just the way it went in our house. My dad was strict discipline, really hard on us.
But also not there, right?
As we moved to Kerrville, he did take a different job. So we had, growing up, my dad built a lot of houses for us, and then we would move into it, and then he would be like, you know what, maybe we can make some money on this house, and then we'd put it up for sale if it got to a certain price, and then it would sell, and we would either go like move back in with my grandparents for a little bit, or go rent a house for whatever, and just kind of do that process over again. So when we moved to Kerrville, he got out of the car business and got into, we moved into a golf course community, I guess, that was newly being built, and he built a lot of houses in this neighborhood. So he was doing more, real estate, construction, home building stuff. So we spent a lot more time together.
Good.
Which was good, but also me and him were, because of the discipline, and when you're at that age and you rebel from it a little bit, and you don't understand why your dad's being hard on you, and you don't understand the lessons until a later point in life. But there was hostility there, and like a lot of, probably at the time, hate in my like heart towards him because of how hard he was.
Well, you wanted to do what you wanted to do.
Of course, and what you want to do at that point in time, or what you think is right, is wrong.
Yeah.
So, and he even talks to me to this day about it. He's like, I don't have any regrets or shame about anything I've done to try and instill discipline and the right morals and the right values. And if there's certain things you look back at and say maybe they were wrong or whatever it is, like, so be it. This is what I saw fit to try and make you a man, to make you disciplined and determined in life, and this is how I did it, and this is the way that I wanted to do it. Like, I was because of the partying and because of the fun and how, like, you're making good grades, you're doing well in school, like, because of that, you obviously feel like you can at times do whatever you want, and that was,
it's like a permission.
Yeah,
it's like I'm still getting everything done, so let me go do my thing.
Yeah, and I think from there, I learned and developed a sneaky side as well. One that was like playing a game of cat and mouse against him to get caught and not get caught, and develop a sense of manipulation that a lot of people in addiction and in this world develop over time, right?
Absolutely.
You are going to, by any means necessary, do what you need to do to get your high or get your fix or get what you want.
Yep.
And that's just like the selfish, way of life, to do what you want to do at all points in time. And
let me ask you this, because I agree with that, but when you were originally like started drinking or whatever, do you actually remember the first time you ever got drunk?
I can have flashbacks and memories in my head of like certain parties and things that happened in certain parties. But as far as like really drinking or like drinking to the point of excess of getting drunk for the first time, no.
Okay. Because for me, like I knew, like I could pinpoint the exact night, right? And the moment that switch happened for me, which is like that imaginary line sort of thing, whatever everybody talks about, and I remember sitting at a house with my buddies getting drunk off some vodka, and then that moment, that feeling from the head to the toes, it was just that like, okay, this is what's been missing. I felt like a puzzle that finally was complete, right? And from that point on, like I knew it was going to be dangerous. I knew I wanted to feel like that all the time.
I could say that about smoking weed.
Okay.
So the first time like that happened, where I was like, whoa, this euphoric of a feeling, and like getting out of your natural state and into that state was one that from the very first moment I ever really did it was just like super appealing and super.
You just wanted to feel like that all the time.
You drink, it takes a while to be able to get to that point, to feel that, to be able to get into that state. And for marijuana, it's not. It's a lot more instant of a gratification, and instant feeling of everything that comes with it, I guess. The relaxedness that comes with it, the high, the laughs, the funny, the enhanced senses at times for certain things.
Sure,
like,
music, food,
all of it. So that was super appealing to me, and something I genuinely did from the first time that I did it at maybe 15 years old until really probably 31.
You're getting high every day.
Yeah.
Or as often as you could.
No, every single day.
Yeah.
There were very few days that I wouldn't. There was periods of my time of my life where I would go sober, I would get away from it. Football, at certain aspects throughout my time in the NFL, you couldn't do it. But for the most part,
testing?
Yeah, but for the most part, like, maybe when I first got to college, originally being a scared kid, it was, coming early as a redshirt freshman, like wanting to follow the rules and do the right things. There was a point in time where I wasn't, but something that I always loved and was extremely, extremely drawn to. So I can remember that first time for sure. And loved it. And I think, at points in time throughout my high school career, getting caught with it from my family, I did a good job of hiding it from them really until maybe like my going into my senior year. The partying for me in high school, my dad didn't let me spend the night away very much. I could have people come over to our house and like stay over at our house, and like he liked us being home where he had a lot more control over it.
Yeah.
But it would be like, a rarity that I would be able to go out and spend the night out, especially when you're 16 now, you're driving, they know you're up to no good. Like, but it really consisted of, Friday nights after football games during the fall, and then during the spring, after certain baseball games and certain things, we had guys' houses who we would go to, after games, and you'd have 20, 30 people there, and, pretty solid parties for a high school out in.
And you were the king of the high school, right?
Yeah, there was other guys who were good athletes that played that, had a lot more money and were able to throw these parties and do these certain things. Like the older brother thing was always really huge because you got their old IDs or whatever it was, and you could have a lot more access to things. But I was definitely, a standout athlete, a very well-liked person. And, that continues on through high school from, the end of my freshman year, middle of my freshman year to, the time I leave I leave in December of 2011. So halfway through my senior year, I graduate early and decide to go to A&M. But, pretty smooth sailing for the most part. A big turning point in my high school career was my sophomore year. I'm playing backup quarterback and I'm playing receiver. We have a team loaded with a lot of seniors this year. Our quarterback's a senior, 2 really good receivers that are seniors, like our stars and studs of our team are, been there a long time, really good senior players. Maybe like 3 weeks into the season, we do a house party in town at somebody's house, and I'm with another friend who doesn't really drink a whole lot, but he's going to go out tonight, and we get there late. And as we pull up to the house, we see cop cars that are out front. And this party got busted, and our starting quarterback, a couple of our receivers, they arrested for minor in consumption of alcohol.
Damn.
And our high school coaches were very, very strict to the point of like if you were in season and you were caught drinking or got in trouble or anything like this, you were suspended for 3 games.
Wow.
You went through 3 weeks of hell week. They really laid it on you really, really hard. So now I went from being the starting receiver and backup quarterback to being the starting quarterback of a team that has like as high expectations as any team in our high school's history.
Sure.
Like really, this is our chance to go win state. Like with these guys and these people, and they've been in this offense for 3 years. Like this is the team.
And now you're down a missing quarterback.
Now our starting quarterback who's getting recruited by Oklahoma State and Texas Tech, and like is a really good player, is out. And it's like one of those things like is in the front page of the newspaper and like rattles the community. And it's like, oh shit, like this is the team. This is supposed to be the year. And now I'm nervous. I'm thrown into a starting role. I could have very easily rode with somebody else and been at this party, and just got lucky.
Yeah, you dodged that night.
Just got lucky. And get thrown into a starting role and just like really had like a coming out party.
What was your first game? I forget.
I can't even remember what the team was. I think it may have been – I really can't remember, but – you know, you see it in the documentary where it had like it was 70-yard touchdown run and it gets called back for holding and we run the same play again and it's an 80-yard touchdown run. It's like back to back and it's like it was a legendary thing for the time, like in our town of like,
sure,
you know, that game and like being able to come in and right the ship a little bit and hold on like strong and could keep us kind of like rolling a little bit. And then from there that season we kind of bounced back and forth and used me at quarterback a little bit, but I played a lot of receiver and. You know, we end up going to the what was this 2008 or 9?
Mm-hmm.
I think this team just got recently. They just told us they're inducting us into our high school Hall of Fame for this team, which was pretty cool. It was my first real season being on varsity and stuff, so it was one that'll always like stick with me. But ran into a eventual state champion that year in Lake Travis, who had a guy named Garrett Gilbert who played at Texas. That was just like ran into a buzzsaw. Ended up getting bounced in the second round, but unbelievable experience for me. Got to play in the Alamo Dome that year, which was like, whoa. Like,
that's the biggest crowd that you probably played in front of, right?
That's the biggest stadium I'd ever walked into at the time, and I was just like, it was just crazy.
Yeah. So then at that point, like, do you think that you have what it takes? I mean, at this point, are you even thinking NFL, or are you just thinking?
No. I'm not thinking NFL. I'm thinking you know,
hopefully you get a scholarship.
You know, this senior is going to leave at quarterback position. I'm going to be able to be the starting quarterback at this high school. Like, we're losing a lot of guys, but like I get to be a starter now. Like, it's my team. So, you know, junior year we missed a lot of these guys, and I'm sorry that sophomore year we end up going to the game before state. So we go on a crazy. That was my freshman year that we got bounced in the second, but my sophomore year, make it to the game before state, which lose a heartbreaker. On a field goal last second game to send us to the state championship. Tough. We come back that next year and like, you know, lose a couple games early out of the gate with me as a starter and definitely trying to like find our footing. But, you know, as the season progresses on, like find a stride with the guys that we have and we go back to the game before state.
Nice.
We go back to the semifinals. And, you know, you kind of, the way it works, you kind of play the teams in your area, so San Antonio area or like Corpus Christi, people in there, you like make your way out of that bracket, and then you usually go play like a Houston school. And you know, the schools that we were playing had multiple guys going to, you know, D1 colleges and stuff, and we didn't have that. You know, we were very built on the way that our coaches ran the program, which was very military, discipline style, hard work, doing the right thing.
Everybody has a job, and if everybody does their job,
whether you play or not,
then you succeed.
Whether you play or not, it doesn't matter. We all dress the same. We all wear the same things. If you don't,
you're a unit.
You're a unit. It was very military style, but I look back with a lot of appreciation of it because if you do the details and the small things right, no matter if you're the biggest, the strongest, the fastest, you still have an opportunity to be successful.
Amen.
And we beat a lot of teams that we had no business beating.
Right.
We had 10 guys going to play Division I football.
Have you ever heard of De La Salle High School in Concord, California? So that's where I went.
Of course, powerhouse.
Yeah. So that was so it wasn't the Friday Night Lights type experience. However, it was very, football oriented.
Yeah.
And that was the fun thing
sure.
to do and stuff. I didn't know I was going to be this big. I was a late bloomer. Probably should have done that. Might have had a career. Who knows? But I don't look back on that because it was life, right? They require you to give 4 years to football. At the end of the day, that's what there is no days off, right? It's your summers with them, your winter, your spring and fall, like all of it. It's nonstop.
Our first period of the day for school was football.
Oh yeah.
So
like at 6 a.m.
We
right?
were on the track at 7 a.m., 7:10 or whatever it was, and we would start running with a 400-meter lap. And you had to do it in a certain time every single day. That's how we started our day, Monday through Friday, every morning.
Before first period.
Before first period, you would go do football the very first period of the day, practice or do things in the morning. In the off
so
season,
very similar. The programs sound very similar.
You get out of that first period, you go straight into your second period class, and you start your day, and then you have practice in the afternoon.
That's it. Yeah,
that's what it was. It was life.
A lot of two-a-days, a lot of hell week, a lot of all that.
Yeah, a lot. And they were on our ass, and they didn't mince words. They didn't beat around the bush. They were very direct and very country and very hard ass. Yeah. And that's the way they were raised, and that's the way they did it. And you either fell in line and accepted it and did what they wanted to do, or you left.
Yeah, it doesn't matter if you're the best player on the team.
It didn't matter. We had guys who were not very talented, not very athletic, but they came in every day, and for 4 years they worked their ass off. And they maybe played 5 snaps in 4 years, but they got rewarded with their hard work and everything they did by being able to play a little bit and get into some games and stuff. And
sure,
it was a special program, one that prepared me for what I ended up doing in college, and a lot of the reason why I think I had so much success early on. But high school was great, and for me, being from this town, we had a lot of buzz about us being the small school that went and beat up on good teams in San Antonio and played teams tough and had a lot of grit. It made enough noise to where I wasn't really getting recruited very much. Just because it's people come to San Antonio to recruit. They're not driving an hour outside of San Antonio to come watch our practice or see us. And we only play in San Antonio maybe 2 times a year.
But you were making noise.
Was enough to where coaches in San Antonio were like, you should go check this kid
okay.
out.
So you had really, some, but not as much as
really
maybe if you
probably
lived in San Antonio.
Spring going into my junior year, not a lot. After my junior year, going into my senior year, that spring practice started to have a lot more people come out to where it was a lot more of a buzz. I mean, going back to the state semifinals from a team like this in a town like this and back-to-back years was definitely okay, these guys, our coaches were badass, man. Badass. They would look at the preseason rankings of teams in the area that were in the 5A division, and they'd be like, we want to schedule you. We want to play you. They're like, what? No, we don't care.
Yeah.
So we would go play Judson. We would go play San Antonio Madison. We would go play these teams that were the powerhouses of San Antonio.
Yeah, because you had something to prove.
They didn't care.
Yeah.
They were like, whatever.
We want competition. We want to beat the best.
Yeah, we want to play the best. We don't get to do that in our district.
Right. So
go do it and make yourself better. So when you go into district, you have played and seen ball like this and done it. And originally, when it, like I said, when we got that offense my freshman year, our whole mindset and attitude of everything changed and brought this with it. So that first year, my freshman year, we scheduled those teams and maybe that varsity team that freshman year definitely maybe got beat up on a little bit, but it prepared them for what was coming the next
Absolutely.
3 years.
Yeah, I mean, listen, if you play the best, you'll eventually be the best.
Yeah, and it helps you for the playoffs. It helps you for everything. So,
sure.
and to take a loss early in the season like that, it doesn't affect your district ranking or anything getting to the playoffs or anything like that. It was just true competition. And I think it made us so much better. And I always look back and appreciate that. They had no fear. They did not care.
So the way I see it, up until this point, you've had a ton of structure and accountability in your life, right?
Yeah, a ton.
And then the transition to college, I mean, I'm not saying that the structure and accountability isn't there, but you do have a little bit more freedom, correct? So you had a couple of choices. It sounded like you were deciding between Oregon and A&M?
Yeah, there was a point in time where, as you're now getting recruited by schools and getting offers and, you're a well-known name in the San Antonio area and in the state of Texas, you're winning Players of the Week and you're a well-known name for Texas high school football. With that starts to come ego. With that starts to come thinking that you're the shit. Why wouldn't it?
At that age, you don't even know it's ego, but yes. Yeah. I mean, of course. Listen, you're getting cheers from people that people
But the
love.
things you get away with too, the nights of drinking and driving, and like the things you get away with, the house parties you show up to that you don't get caught at. Like, eventually that ran its course and caught up to me. Before my senior year, I had a night where I went to a festival, a folk festival thing that we have in our hometown, and drank way too much. Ended up wanting to drive to a buddy's ranch that was like an hour away and stay out there for the weekend or whatever, and stopped at Walmart to get a phone charger on the way out of town, and was just drunk and tried to steal it, even though I had money in my pocket.
Sure.
Just dumb, drunk kid.
Yeah. Seemed like a good idea at the time.
Just not even thinking. And guy stopped me on the way out of the door and wanted to talk to me about the merchandise in my pocket, and ended up taking me to the back. A police officer showed up. This is the time Lil Wayne, Mrs. Officer, the song came out, and she came to the back and asked me if I'd been drinking, and defiantly, loud and proud, absolutely not. She pulled out a breathalyzer and hit me with it and gave me a chance to tell the truth. And of course I lied, and slapped some handcuffs on me and put me in the back of the car and arrested me for a minor consumption of alcohol and small theft or whatever it was. And then I had my version of Hell Week coming up from these coaches.
Sure.
I'm the leader of this team now. I watched this happen to older guys that were seniors the year before, and you still don't learn your lesson. So at this point in time too, I'd made a deal with my dad because football was getting really serious and college is getting to the point of where it's going to be paid for, and now you're having a real opportunity to go and get free education and maybe even a career out of this.
Mm-hmm.
He was doing things in my life to try and keep me motivated and incentivized. So he just bought me a new car. I'm going to buy you this new car. You're not going to drink. Devastating blow for him, because he believed me, and I remember the first day that I got this car, driving straight to the ranch and wanting to show it off and staying out on a 2-day ranch bender with all the boys and stuff, and just immediately I was like, haha, I get what I want, and I'm going to still continue to do what I want regardless. Mm-hmm. This, incident, getting arrested in high school was very humbling because it was obviously big news in the town. Now it's well known that you're drinking and you're doing this, even though that it probably had been before because word in a small town travels fast.
Of course, but this is your first real in your face consequence.
Yeah. And they put me through the ringer for this. The coaches really kicked my ass for a couple of weeks there, to the point of where they're making you throw up every single day, and they're really, really grinding down on you really hard, and you're getting it at home, grounded for the majority of my senior year. Mm-hmm. Now football during this point too is really picking up. I commit to Oregon in the July before my senior year, so now I have an offer from Oregon, an offer from Stanford, and it's really actually tangible. I can go to Stanford and get an education for free.
Crazy.
That's nobody from my town
had done at that time. That's over $500,000. Yeah,
and one of the best universities in the country.
For sure.
Whoa. But going into a senior year where we're top-ranked team in the state, it's my senior year now. It's our time to maybe go win a state championship. Mm-hmm. And we're good. We're really good. So as you overcome that hurdle and now you're in crazy shape because they've kicked your ass for the summer months and everything, and they're on you, and you're disciplined at home. You're
straight and narrow.
You're going from the practice in the morning to school to back home. There is no more partying. There is no more and I'm trying to graduate early, so I know this is my last semester in school. Unbelievable season for us. Through 77 touchdowns, I think, and just crazy,
wild,
crazy numbers. Some unbelievable games playing these big schools in San Antonio. We play San Antonio Madison in week 3 or week 4, and Texas A&M shows up and just have an unbelievable game against a running back named Aaron Green, who was committed to Nebraska, top 2 running back in the country, and we just had a crazy battle. And I get offered for Texas A&M after this game, and I'm like, you know what? Oregon's really far. This is a great in-state offer. I'm going to stay home. And I was telling this story literally, I think, yesterday. A huge turning point in my life, too, of something that's a lesson that I still learn to this day is, when I tell my high school coach I'm going to commit to Texas A&M, he's like, okay, well, you know what we have to do next? I'm like, what, celebrate? He's like, no. You have to call Chip Kelly at Oregon and tell him that you're not going to come. I'm like, no, absolutely not. He sits me down in his office and picks up the phone and dials his number. Coach Kelly, got Johnny Manziel here for you. He's got something he wants to tell you. At that moment in time, just like having to be brutally honest with somebody who, you respect a lot and who's recruited you and you've had a great relationship with, and it's been all laughs and cheers and high fives and rah-rah, and we can't wait for you to be here, but to be like, tell them the truth of what's happening. And had to have a grown man who's a coach on the other end just rip you to shreds, and just like, as a 17-year-old kid, it's something you'll like never forget. It's how it goes in that game, because they are planning a lot of things for you. They don't understand why you're not going to come to the team who's going to the national title. Instead, you're going to go to A&M. It didn't make a lot of sense to him as well. But like a very life-teaching moment about just like being honest, doing the right thing, no matter how hard it is, just ripping that Band-Aid off and just coming with blatant, direct like honesty of what it is, and whatever that other person has to say about it is what it is. You can't control somebody else's reaction to it or what it's going to be, but it's a huge lesson of one that you don't want to do, but you probably need to do. And I think one that I take into a lot of areas of my life now of, sometimes when certain things are going on that like I don't like, I try to find the most respectful but direct way to do it. And it may not sound great all the time, and it may be maybe even borderline harsh, but it's honest and direct, and it is what it is, and it takes the air out of the room. In a sense,
I was going to say people don't always react well to it, but to be honest, they usually look back on it in retrospect and say, "I'm glad he ripped the Band-Aid off."
Yeah, I would rather have it that way.
Me too. Don't screw me over 6 months down the road or whatever. Like just rip it off.
So senior year goes great. We run into the eventual state champion in the second round and have a great battle, but as a team, Lake Travis, we couldn't beat. And my senior year ends in the second week of the playoffs, and now I'm going to A&M. Now I've got 3-4 weeks of school left, and I'm graduating early. And at the point in time, I'm thinking, I guess I'm at the point where I'm like, I'm finally about to be out from under my dad's thumb.
That's what I'm saying.
I get to be, in college. I'm getting there early. My parents at this point in time are now moving back to Tyler, so they have a U-Haul of all their stuff in the back of the U-Haul. My stuff's at the front. They drop me off at College Station. Now should be a second part of my senior year of high school, but now I'm on campus.
Now, did you live in the dorms or did you live
in
an
apartments, off-campus apartments, but came in with some other guys who graduated early too, some young guys. So we're all now thrown into Mike Sherman's program at Texas A&M, and they're really tough on your freshmen, and like, you're getting beat up from the older guys on the team, and you're really just like learning like how to go to class, how to, do things on your own. But like, I'm a lot of discipline and structure within the program, but you have a lot of time and stuff and free time to be able to explore, and College Station's a fun town. Like, I think as I originally got there, I wasn't really too wild. Like here and there, of course, you're with a group of football guys who are partying and doing stuff, but it wasn't too wild. I think I was really trying to, they work you out really hard when you're in this point position. Like you're there early, they're there to beat up on you and get you ready because the rest of your class is coming in the summer, before school starts, and you want to get a head start on them. So I think,
of course,
really focuses. You get there, class, school is really serious for you, and you don't want to fuck up, right? You don't want to get on coach's bad side right out of the gate and stuff. So
no, you got to. But in the back of your mind, are you kind of saying like I need to like keep it under control at this point, like at least in the beginning until I could figure out how to wiggle?
I was driving back to Kerrville a lot, which was 3.5 hours, and all my boys were in high school. Now it's their second semester. They're not playing football anymore. Some are playing basketball, but a lot of them are just enjoying
being seniors.
A light schedule, being seniors, and they're throwing parties and stuff. And I'm driving back from college
to hang out.
Yeah, I'm still doing that, or they're coming up there to stay with me or something and figure it out. So still very much hanging out with my high school friends. Had a lot of people who were coming to Texas A&M too in the summer. But I think school was good. I think off the field stuff was pretty good. I really didn't have too many issues. Football sucked. I wasn't very good at learning the offense. This pro-style offense was not for me. The program was great, you know, the weightlifting stuff and all that I was really like excelling in, but like the football itself and like turning the meeting rooms into actually going and doing it on the field, I was like, wow, I can't do this. I can't take a snap under center and 7-step drop and throw an 18-yard comeback, and like that wasn't my game. Mm-hmm. My game was to run around and scramble. It was just their offense is what they did.
Right, but they were
Sherman coached Brett Favre for the Packers. Like they were a very pro-style
pocket passer.
Mm-hmm. It was so fucking boring. Sorry to put it bluntly. Like I love Coach Sherman, I love Coach Rossley, that staff, but it just was.
Yeah. So at what point do they realize that they have what they have in you, and then allow you to kind of play your style? Because there had to have been at some point.
That coaching staff. So I get there in January of 2011. I redshirt, but I'm traveling with the team that fall. We go 7-6. That coaching staff gets fired. But I'm at this point in time where I'm like, I'm transferring. You know, I'm like, I'm going to go to TCU, or I'm going to go somewhere else in the state of Texas, and I'm going to transfer because I'm not having very much fun doing this. And that staff gets fired, and they bring in Kevin Sumlin from Houston, who was coaching Case Keenum at that point in time, who had an unbelievable air raid offense. It was so much fun to watch. And a guy named Cliff Kingsbury. And Cliff Kingsbury was one of those guys who, before my senior year in the spring, made the drive from San Antonio because he heard coaches. And he looked me dead in the face and he goes, "You're fucking badass. I don't have a scholarship to give you at Houston. But continue to keep working hard, continuing to keep being the player you are. And I think one day down the line, our paths will cross."
And voila.
Walks right in the door.
Crazy.
And this offense now is simplified, is air raid, is fast, and he is awesome.
He knows your style.
He knows me. He's from New Braunfels, which is another hill country town. He had a ton of relationships with coaches in the area. He really knew me. And I think from the second he got there, he's like, this can be my guy. I didn't see that at the time, but he did. And he really, really believed in me. And the reason I am and was the player that I was has a lot to do with him and his belief in me and seeing something in me, maybe from high school, maybe from everything from the time he got to Texas A&M. But, you know, and he told people as he took that job, I've heard this story from him where he was like, I don't know how much Kevin Sumlin really, really wanted me. I think there was a couple other quarterbacks on the roster that Kevin Sumlin would have rather seen play, but Cliff was like, no, this is my guy. And, you know, now my partying is probably, as I'm in college for a year and a half, is definitely a little bit more advanced. You know, I know a lot more people. Mm-hmm. You know, now I have fake IDs, and like now I'm able to like kind of move around and do certain stuff. I've been on campus for a year and a half. I know a lot more. So I'm going through some struggles of my own, you know, where from football not going great to really then like, okay, well, at least I'm good at partying so I can do this. And like, there's this coaching staff, and then this change comes in. It's like an excitement for a little bit. But if you're not, you know, football is a game of confidence. And if you go out on the practice field and you're really struggling, and my game is so much of making people miss and scrambling and doing certain stuff, that doesn't come out in practice because the whistle and this and that. So it can get really frustrating. Nobody's hitting each other.
Yeah.
So it can get frustrating. You feel like you're not being able to do what you're great at.
Yeah. I get it.
And, you know, I think with that was just the coping mechanism of going out and, you know, escaping and removing yourself from the realities of what the world is. And you see it all the time and hear about it all the time in the world of addiction. And, you know, I got into some more trouble July of 2012. The spring went terribly for me. I'm fourth on the depth chart. I'm really struggling. But I have so much potential. And around July, go out with my best friend from high school who now goes to A&M, and he's getting in a fight in the streets, and we've been out drinking all night to the point where I'm like browning in and browning out walking down the street. And I like come back to, and he's fighting older man in the street. Like, of course, I step in to try and like break it up, end up falling over, black out. Next thing you know, I'm in handcuffs. Got arrested for fake ID, minor in consumption of alcohol, and then something else. So now I'm back in the coach's office.
Yeah.
This discipline comes down again. My dad is now working in the car business again. He's working in Conroe, but they're living in College Station. So my family moves to Bryan.
Close by.
Yeah. So now I'm very much like, going to the house a lot, spending time with my family again, kind of like not really living there, but I'm there a lot. And I'm getting a lot more family oriented. My mom is like looking for quarterback coaches for me to work out in the off season in the summer and stuff. And she sends me to San Diego to a guy named George Whitfield. And, fall camp starts in August. I probably go out there at the end of July and work with this guy for a week. Really started to dial in and work on some things that were like fundamentally flawed with my game. Like I said, I'm 4th on the depth chart. In 11 days of getting back to fall camp, I was named the starter.
Wow. And that's just from practice?
Just from working on mechanics, just from, dialing in and honing in for a month.
But how did the coaches at A&M see that?
Cliff didn't let any of that affect. He didn't let the arrest. He didn't let my terrible spring performance. He's like, I'm bringing all these guys into fall camp, and the best guy's going to walk out of here and get the job.
There it is.
They beat me up enough that before fall practice, I ran 10 gassers before practice, and I ran 10 gassers after practice, timed with the strength staff. They beat me within an inch of my life every single day. When you're doing 2-a-days, that's 40 gassers a day. Everybody else is walking off the field dead after practice, and I'm on the line. And I'm out there by myself getting ripped. 4 coaches in your ear the whole time. If you're not making this is what you get for doing what you did and getting in trouble. But
and what does that keep you? So does something like that get you back on the straight and narrow pretty quickly for a little while?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
In retrospect, do you ever see like at what point do you start kind of moving back to the dark side?
The reason I led the SEC in rushing was from all those gassers.
Yeah,
I could
sure.
run forever, and my speed was up. Like, the reason I was fast as I was that year in 2012 was because of this punishment and stuff.
Sure.
It changes when you turn into, it's our first year in the SEC. We're starting to win games. We go play Arkansas in the first SEC or second SEC game, and you break Archie Manning's 40-year record of all-time all-purpose yards in a game for a quarterback, and then 3 weeks later after that, you shatter it again, and you're seeing yourself on ESPN, and then you're in a Heisman watch list, and
then
with
that Bama
that
game
comes then the Bama game happens. This is superstardom, and now we're partying. Tuesdays and Thursdays, we're partying, but we're going out on Saturday and we're smacking people. So it comes a sense of maybe I'm just built different than most, and I can go out and do this, and it almost feels like a superpower. The access of what comes with social media and everything at this point in time, now I'm actually famous.
Mm-hmm.
You do the valid.
It was at a blink. It was literally in the blink of an eye.
It was overnight. 3 weeks into the season, our offense isn't rolling whatsoever, and at halftime, walking into SMU, there's rumors that I can be benched. Come out in the second half of the SMU game, and it's the first time you really see a glimpse of what we can be as an offense and I can be as a player. And then we never really just looked back. We had a struggle against LSU in a game we probably should have won, but other than that,
that was a field goal, right?
We missed some field goals, a couple penalties and stuff, but that's the game that kept us out of a national title. But the season for us goes amazing. 11-2, the first time in a long time that we had done that. Beat Alabama, #1 team in the country, win the Heisman as a freshman, go beat your rival in Oklahoma that had whooped up on you in the Big 12 for the previous decade.
And become Johnny Football.
Yeah. Now it's you can't tell me anything type of thing. After that game, it was just on, and the access that came with it was just insane. Me and my dad went to.
You were selling more jerseys than NFL players.
Probably, and me and my dad go to the Super Bowl that year, and we're sitting at the 50-yard line, 6 rows up. We're in New Orleans, bouncing into every single party you can get into and welcome in with open doors. And I'm 18. I'm not even old enough to drink.
That's crazy.
And go back the next week, the week after, because it's Mardi Gras. Aggie friend that owns a place on Royal Street right off Bourbon, and then it was like addicting.
Yeah.
Then the access and what would happen and what people would ask you to do was addicting, and it was like, I was really into country music, so I started hanging out with the guys who I'd listened to their songs growing up forever, and I'm hopping on tour buses, and football is starting to take a little bit of a back seat, but you're still going to practice and still like, wow, I'm incredibly, incredibly talented. I'm going to work with my quarterback coach again in San Diego, and we're taking it to a different level of what we're doing. And for him, being around guys like Cam Newton and Andrew Luck, who were already out of college and drafted and stuff, he's like, you have what these guys have. The things we're doing right now, we didn't do with these guys until later. So you start to get a bravado and a sense of confidence about you, and what you're doing in practice, and the hype that came around everything that happened. You walk into a Barnes and Noble or somewhere and you look at college sports magazines and it's like you're on 90% of covers. The ESPN you can't turn on and watch SportsCenter without seeing yourself. So it's just it was crazy. Friends I made, Drake, LeBron, people who I was friends with in college. It was surreal.
Yeah, it almost doesn't make sense. It's almost too much of a responsibility to put on somebody that age.
I just don't know any better, right?
Yeah, right.
You're just it's not real life, but it continues to keep happening, so it must be.
And then everywhere you're going, because of who you're with, there's just booze and weed and whatever you want, technically, right? Women, whatever it is.
During all this, you're a really good time. You're a lot of fun to be around.
Yeah.
You have a great personality. You know how to party. You know how to work a room. You know how to make people enjoy being around you and your presence, and you're wild.
Yeah, you're fun drunk.
You're reveled in it.
Yeah.
I think looking back now, that second year of football season, in 2013, for us as a team, we weren't as good. But I also wasn't as good of a player, even though my numbers were better, even though I could look at certain things and be like, I'm better. Throwing into coverage and certain things, and I'm a better football player. I didn't work with that ego and fame and everything that came with it. You have to sacrifice something somewhere, and I think I sacrificed putting in the time and the effort that I had done the year before because of the discipline and getting in trouble and certain things like that, and develop an attitude where
I didn't have to.
I was too big to where they couldn't really suspend me. A&M was doing a huge raise for a stadium and using a lot of, as they should have, using the publicity of that year and that team and everything that came with me winning the Heisman as a freshman and breaking that barrier into, things that they needed to do for their program, their stadium. It
was the perfect opportunity.
It was an amazing opportunity for them. So, they were, I wouldn't say covering it up, but they definitely weren't doing what the rule book was saying you should do for missing class and missing workouts and certain things. And I really just got away with a lot to where I kind of did what I wanted. Unfortunate, and as bad as it sounds, it's honest.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that too.
I say it to Mike. It's hard for me to look at Mike Evans and say that I gave us a real shot to win a national title the next year, or Jake Matthews, who was a senior. It's hard for me to look at those guys who've been in the program for 3 or 4 years. And
do you feel like you let them down?
I feel like what I did didn't give them the best opportunity to go win a national championship.
Yeah.
I didn't give my team or my university the best opportunity to go be the best that we should have been. I can go back and watch games now from 2013 and see it in my play, that the smoking weed every day and drinking and the partying I didn't think was affecting me at the time absolutely was. I can see it in my feet. I can see it in my attitude on the field. I can see it as you roll through this, it was a lot to go win the Heisman like that, and then go do Jay Leno and all these late night shows, and then you're doing a lot of pub and stuff and publicity stuff for A&M in the spring, and you're doing Time Magazine, and you're doing Sports Illustrated articles, and you're letting people into your life, but then also people are seeing your life and nitpicking it, and
then there's no classes that you could take. There's nobody to help you prepare for all of that, right?
They gave me online classes.
Well, I mean for your regular
Of course,
classes.
yeah,
But I mean
now
like,
with school,
but
right?
but nobody gives you a playbook in order to handle what happened.
Nobody knew, right?
I mean,
Nobody knew how to handle this and how to handle this level of like fame for like a college athlete. Like it had happened a couple times in the past. There's guys
Sure.
that you've seen throughout the history that
had
have
similar
been really
impact.
big superstars and like impact, like Reggie Bush at USC and Matt Leinart. It was a crazy example. Probably Bo Jackson at Auburn back in the day. Like there has been guys. Caitlin Clark had a really like similar effect for college women's basketball after. But something else that went on is like.
We are in the midst of the worst drug crisis in U.S. history.
The CDC has named fentanyl deadliest drug in the United States.
The drug is fentanyl.
My name is Jeremy, and I'm a recovering fentanyl addict. I've overdosed more times than I can count. I believe I was revived so I could carry the message to the addict that still suffers. Silence makes you complicit. You either recover loudly or you die quietly. I'm not here to scare you. I'm here to help you save your own life.
Join the movement today at recoverordie.org.
Because it was hard for me to maneuver across the campus after the fall of 2012. In 2013, I started taking all online classes to where like now I didn't really have to get up in the morning and go to an 8 a.m. or go to class. So now I can go out and stay out late and A&M's trying the best to like figure out how to do what they need to do for them, but keep me in line. And Coach Sumlin doesn't really know what to do, and it's just it's a tough situation. And then the second year happens, and towards the end of that year, you send in your draft papers, and they're like, "Well, you got a first or a second round grade back. You can probably go to the NFL and be a first or a second round pick." Damn. That's
nice.
Never happened for anybody from Kerrville, Texas. That's beyond my wildest dream. But like,
Yeah, I heard you say on Shay that like you had pretty much accomplished your dreams going into just the NFL, right?
winning the Heisman was like
Yeah.
everything I had played in a video game.
Right.
My whole life growing up. Road to glory in NCAA football. It was like the pinnacle of my life. Like I loved it. I loved the Heisman. I loved college football. I loved it. It was like, wow, I get to really do it on an even crazier scale in the state of Texas.
You're living your video game.
Yeah, I'm living a video game.
Wild.
What I'm doing off the field is like surreal.
Yeah, you're getting access to all these
I'm
celebrities, right? The
I'm
limelight.
spending my spring break in Toronto with Drake.
It's very attractive, right? It's very romantic, the limelight, huh?
It's just like it never stops. Like it's like, I made a list of 100 people that I would want to meet, and I met 90 of them in the first year and a half. It's like it wasn't real life. And everybody was great, so nice to me, so cool. It's like and then the money gets involved when you're doing, stuff in college.
Yeah,
that adds a different dimension to it all.
Yeah, that was very public. I think everybody saw that in the documentary too. But I kind of more along the addiction side of things. Curious, at what point are people pulling you aside and saying like, you need to reel it in? Or I know you said you were, your coaches were trying to figure out how to handle the whole thing. Like, can you give me a little bit about like, were people talking about like thinking you had a problem?
A&M brought in I failed a drug test coming back in the fall camp of 2013, which I had a talk with Coach Sumlin before and was like, I'm going to fail this drug test. He's like, okay, we'll come in, we'll see. So 2013, they had me work with a addiction specialist, an alcohol counselor, local, in Bryan. I would go to some meetings. The first time I ever really went into meetings, but
12-step?
And we meet with this guy a lot. Interesting, right? Because, at that point in time of being a college kid, you're not ready to hear that and understand what it is. You see going into the meetings and hear stuff that you've never heard before and what it can do to people's lives, but that can't be you.
I was going to say that, but I'm different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going out on Saturdays, whatever it is, and I'm
still winning games.
Yeah. And I'm
so how can you tell me my life is?
I'm electric with it. Yeah, how can you tell me it's out of control? It
How
just
can you say
worked
it's
the year
unmanageable?
before. I won the Heisman as a freshman. It's never been done before.
You didn't have the evidence yet.
Yeah, no, I didn't. But I also didn't know, once that 2012 season ended and I stopped taking care of myself in the way that a high level athlete should, and I truly believing in myself that I'm like built different and that I can do this and I'm the outlier of it all, your mind gets to a place to where, like I said, now I can look back and see what the film looks like and compare it to the year before. But at that point in time, as you're watching film, you
can't see it in the middle of it.
You don't see it.
We talk about that all the time.
And, I'm working with this guy a little bit, but I'm not taking it very serious whatsoever. It's literally just to appease them and do what I need to do. And you walk out of the meeting and you don't feel affected by it whatsoever, other than it's time out of your day that you have to do that pisses you off.
That was a waste of an hour.
Pisses you off. You're just like, you have to do it. It is what it is. And, that season goes on. That fall, at some point in time, it might have been that spring, was the first time I'd ever really been introduced to cocaine, and did it once in Austin, hated it. I was like, I'll never do that again. And then somewhere around that fall, kind of popped its head back up again, around Halloween. And that was an interesting month and a half of college to be doing that, and enjoying it. And having 20, 30, 40 grand in your bank account in College Station is
$1 million.
Millions of dollars, yeah.
Especially at that age.
So we're getting limos on the nights that we have off, and we're driving to 6th Street and going doing stupid shit.
You were also taking Xanax at that time, right?
Yeah, the Xanax for me was something that I introduced in high school, and around that first arrest that I had with the fake IDs and stuff in college, that was a Xanax night where we would drink on them, and you can drink an unbelievable amount, and until you really take it too far, you don't really black out on them, or it was my experience with it. But there was times where I would be my grandparents would come into town and we would go to a family dinner and I would be on them, or they would wake me up from a deep sleep or something, and I would get really hostile and really angry, and points in time where maybe I scared my mom a little bit, my sister, and I didn't like the sleeping for so long, and they would really, really knock me out. And it was stopped it because of, I think, how brought out that angry side of me a little bit.
When you woke up?
Yeah. And it's a really powerful, really addictive thing.
Absolutely.
You knowing now what I know now through the rehabs and stuff, that your benzo withdrawal is an incredibly serious thing that it's the most
dangerous.
Yeah.
You can die from it. Grand mal seizures, just like alcohol. It hits the same receptors as alcohol. So I'm not surprised that you're into it.
I was into it for a long time. And,
I'm sure it helped you also deal with some of the pressure and just the attention.
For sure. I think a lot of people that were around that time too, it was definitely a lot of people's drugs of choice to come back after a game or something and take a full stick or a couple full sticks and just knock. The anger side of it for me was one that I look back on and didn't really like. I'd seen that angry side with my dad at periods of time here and there, and I think it was something that I just really didn't like. And I got away from the Xanax a little bit. It's probably throughout my time in Cleveland, I stopped for good.
Mm-hmm.
So going through that 2013 season, the partying, and you're getting introduced to drugs, and you're smoking weed every day, and you're drinking a lot, and then we got to go get ready for the draft. So moved to San Diego. Me and Mike Evans live in a house together. I go pretty much completely sober. I'm working out from 7 in the morning until 7 o'clock at night.
With Mike?
Every day. Me and Mike and his girlfriend at the time, is now his wife. We're all living in a house together, and was great. For 2 months leading up to the combine. I tell this story in the doc, but had an incident where I went to LA and went to Hermosa Beach and got absolutely lit and woke up in a hotel room with a lot of blow and drugs and everything else, and didn't know if I was going to pass the drug test at the combine. That was first kind of whoa, this guy's been great. What the hell is going on?
Almost the sabotage.
I just missed it. It was on such a good path and doing so much, and after a while, it's just damn, you want to have one of those nights where you just let loose and
But the timing of it, you said now it's up. You had that whole like.
Yeah, I know the combine's coming up. I know what a failed drug test means. Like I know
It's
what
just it's like this weird sabotage.
I've never been out in L.A. I'm going to Greystone Manor. I hear about all these rap songs and everything. Like I just put myself in a situation that was like, oh, wanted to do this since I've heard Lil Wayne rap about it or something. Like, it's something I want to do.
Sure.
And just got in that situation around some guys who were in the NFL. They were like, oh, fucking Johnny Football, let's go have a night. Come with us. And like, very easy. First time really in LA. You get into that lifestyle. Now you're
that's crazy too.
Around actors.
From what I hear,
it's nuts. So then you're kind of like humbled by the whole thing. You get through the combine though. You get unscathed. You pass the drug test, and then like things are still rolling. You're still mock drafted to be in the first round or the first pick or whatever it is. You're going through your meetings. You're really busy traveling around. You got your pro day. You got this. You got that. The draft comes. Then you're drafted in the first round, go to Cleveland, and then it's like boom, right into OTAs, and you're looking for a house, and you're like, now millions of dollars have entered your bank account, and you're even more famous than you were before, and you're living your dream of being, a first round pick from a small town of Texas, and you got everything that you think you want. And
Cleveland wasn't the jam though, huh?
No, I was really burnt out too from after the Heisman, everything that went on in the spring, the autograph investigation, the media and everything from the second year.
You were tired.
I was exhausted. And then you go straight to San Diego and you do that kind of training. And then they're like trying to keep you so busy because they know you need structure and they know you need this. And my mom and dad are telling him, he's so much better when he has structure and this and that. But like, it was a lot. And then you get to Cleveland and you're like, fuck, man, you're expected to be the savior of this town, of this franchise, and you don't like it. You never give it a chance. The partying gives you a release, and you're still good at that, even though you're not doing great in practice or whatever. It was never, and it's sad to say, but it's the honest truth that like I never gave myself a fair chance. I never really dove into it and accepted being in that role. I was just okay with things being what they were. I was got to a point where I was okay with maybe even like losing at times.
I was going to say you were probably more interested in just having a social life finally.
It got to a point where I was just like, as depression came in, right? And it's always, people never really understand. It's like, how can you have everything that you've ever wanted and dreamed of and still like be depressed? I don't know. Maybe it wasn't what I thought it was. Maybe I had a different vision of what it was. Maybe it was, fuck, I got drafted to Cleveland. Maybe it was that. And I give Cleveland a lot of shit. They have a small hand in how everything played out. But I wasn't living right. You're not putting good karma into the world. You're not doing the right things. Why should the world give you anything back that you want or that you don't deserve? And as you start to battle with the mental health side of things, and you're like, I called it the gray, but like I really didn't see sunny days, and I had a weather effect of like what the weather was like there that I had never experienced being from Texas. And I'm content with being the backup role and like not really having to play. I don't have to put in a lot of time to it, and I don't know how to be a pro, and I've never really had to watch film. And at this point in time, I'm really learning about my flaws. That I don't know a lot about football as far as the X's and O's go, because our offense in college was just easy, and it was go, and you just play pure progression reads and certain things. So I'm not getting really like nervous about getting behind in the playbook and certain things. I'm kind of like, just things are what they are.
You're not taking it as serious as you maybe should have.
No, of course not. I'm not. But I'm not. I don't know any better. This is what I've got away with for so long and been able to be like good at. And like, am I really loving the nuances of the game and like learning it and like enamoring myself with the game?
But you were burnt out too, right?
Yeah, I was. And people, I've always said like, everybody else does it. It's just kind of what like goes with it. But it's just like, just how much scrutiny and how much like dealing with the media and then the pressure and everything that comes with it. And you do look for an escape. I'm smoking 2 ounces a week in Cleveland.
Jesus.
I'm smoking so much.
That's more than a quarter a day.
It's 8-10 blunts a day, maybe.
Yeah.
It's on the way to practice. It's
7-8 grams a day.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, you're rolling 2-3 gram blunts probably sometimes and stuff too. Like, you're sticking 2 raps together, you're stupid. You feel like you're still in college, but you're,
Yep.
I leave as a redshirt sophomore. I have 2 years of eligibility left. Yeah.
So
At this time as well, something that was a huge thing that I haven't spoken about a lot. I started dating a girl before my first year in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
She was a savage partier, to where she would like come to games in Cleveland and drink my boys under the table, and like loved the drinking and drug side of life as much as I did.
Yeah.
And we were really good at it together. And there'd be points in time where she would be in Cleveland, and like our Mondays would consist of like doing things we called strikeouts, where you would like rip the bong, hold the smoke in, snort a line of blow, and then like shotgun a beer and then blow the smoke out.
Jesus.
Like this is what we were doing like occasionally on our like off days during the season. And
that's not normal.
No, but it's just like you've been doing it for a couple of years now. You're just like pushing the envelope and pushing the envelope, pushing the envelope.
Yeah, it's progressive.
Like,
it's progressive.
It's very progressive. And then my first year in the league goes the way that it goes. Now I'm really depressed because I'm not any good at football right now, and I'm not like. I don't see at the time that I'm not putting the work into being good. I'm just like, why am I not good?
Yeah.
But now I'm depressed, and like, I finally go to my people, and I remember taking maybe like 5 Xanax one night, like after the season, as I'm rehabbing a hamstring injury in Cleveland, and like wake up the next day at like 3 or 4 in the afternoon, and I'm
angry.
Hop on the phone. No, I'm just sad. And I hop on the phone and call my, uncle, who's also my advisor during this time, an amazing human being, Brad Beckworth. And I'm like, I think I need to go somewhere.
Wow. So you made this decision on your own. Do you remember the date exactly that was?
It's going to be like middle of January 2015.
Do you know what is it? Was it just you finally being like, I'm sick of this?
I started to almost feel like suicidal a little bit, and I started to feel like I can't stop partying. That it's just like that's the next thing, and it's my phone is just so accessible to this, and now it's your first off season, and you're like, oh, we're gonna go to the Super Bowl, and then it's this and that. I just didn't see a way to be able to slow it down. It just wasn't gonna stop on its own. I went to Aspen. Right after the season, and went on like an unbelievably crazy coke-filled bender for like a week, and got snowed in, and it was a lot. And like getting back to Cleveland after that, and you're kind of like you're rehabbing, but you're not really showing up to rehab. You're just not doing anything right, and you're still sad, you're still depressed, and like you don't have plans to go work out that off season, and really like, okay, I got to change.
You needed to be removed from your environment.
Yeah, I needed a complete like fresh start and a new thing. And like now I'm thinking maybe I really do have a problem. And they found a place for me to go, care and treatment centers in Pennsylvania.
Familiar?
Yeah, I went to the young adult male program. Hopped on a flight with my uncle. He dropped me off, and I'm immersed with kids who are anywhere from maybe like 18 to 25, and they're giving me some like access to be able to like, wake me up at 6 o'clock, go to the gym for an hour and a half before the day really starts and stuff. But for 30 days, I'm immersed in this young adult male program, and I'm serious about it. I understand and look at everything that's happened, like how out of control and crazy things have gotten, and obviously I'm thinking 30 days. Like I go through it, I'm going to meetings, I'm doing everything by the book. I'm really buying into it. I'm
learning about yourself.
I'm learning about myself. I'm learning about 12-step. I'm learning about AA. I'm learning about a lot of like maybe traumas and things that have happened with my family as you're going through the family part of it, and your family comes up and does the whole thing with you. And I get to day like 28, 29 or something, and then they're like, yo, we probably want you to stay here for a couple more months. And I'm like, what?
That's, I think, everybody's reaction at their first time in treatment. Yeah, when they say that.
I'm like, okay. So they moved me into like just an adult program down the hill into a different house. And now I've got some kids who have been in there with me that I've made friends with who are going through this. And they're coming off of different things, right? A kid,
Fentanyl.
I won't say his name, but taking 30 milligram Oxycontins a day and like finding ways to steal this money to be able to pay for it, and like how it all unravels. And he's a kid my age, and we come from different worlds, but we're super relatable, and we get really close throughout this. And like, I'm definitely speaking in meetings and like speaking up, and I'm very
active.
Yeah. I'm still dating this girl at the time, so she's being super supportive of it, but she's not changing her ways on the outside either, whether I'm doing this or not. And
right.
I go through these next 60 days and like really serious about it, feeling really good. At about day 75 of the 90, they let me leave and go on a trip. So I get on a private jet and go to Turks and Caicos for a week. The condition is I can't drink, and it's my first time out in the real world, and you're on a private plane and you go down there to this amazing island, and I don't drink. I'm great. I go back, I do the drug test, alcohol test, all good. And then I finish my last 15, 20 days there, and I'm feeling really good leaving there. Do I think that I'm never going to drink again, or that I'm going to be sober for the rest of my life leaving there? Did I ever really think that for my time being in that, program? I don't think I ever really bought into that. Mm-hmm. I think I learned a lot about addiction. I think I learned a lot about 12-step. I think I learned how many unbelievable, amazing lessons and values that you can take from that. But I didn't think that was the end for me forever.
It's not super uncommon for somebody in their first treatment center to go in looking for ways to possibly manage it. You know what I mean?
I just needed to get better, right?
That too, right?
I needed to stop. I needed to learn more about it. I needed to find ways and methods and things. It's funny when you go back and like really read the books and stuff that they have in there and stuff about how many stories and what you all see in there of how many ways you've tried to drink and do things
taking a trip, not taking a trip. Yeah.
So I learned a lot about it, but I didn't make it 48 hours.
Okay.
72 hours.
I never did my first time.
I went back to Dallas, hung out with a girlfriend, straight out after dinner, partied. I think I was more selective in it. My team that was around me put a lot of things in place to try to keep me, things that they tell you to do whenever you get out that the rehab recommends. So
sure.
In Cleveland now I'm in a private like men's group of local businessmen who are alcoholics and addicts. But with an NFL schedule and what you're doing through OTAs to get out of the building at 5 p.m. and then go to a meeting at 6 and do this with a group of guys for 2 hours.
It's a lot.
Was exhausting, and I really started to fight it a lot with them, within my team. They're doing things to try and benefit me and help me, but it's a lot. And it's a lot. And I hired one of my high school coaches to come and live with me because I'm like, if anybody's going to hold me accountable, it's this guy.
Nice.
I found a way how to fire him, unfortunately, and pay him for his whole year or 2 years that I had hired him for within the first month and a half.
It's interesting as you're discussing this, what I'm seeing, at least for me, because I've been in this field for quite a while now, is it's like the battle between the boy that was raised well and then also has all these great opportunities that doesn't want to lose them, but your addiction fighting it every step of the way. It's like the angel and the devil on each shoulder, right?
It definitely is, because I know what's best for me, but I know what's best for me is not what I'm wanting to do and what's going to be fun. And I feel like I'm 23 years old. I have so much life to live. I can't make my career the focus and do the right things and sacrifice the fun because I haven't done everything I want to do yet and this and that. And so one of the biggest mistakes I ever made was firing Coach Scott, my high school coach, and you got him out of the equation. Now it's I moved to the suburbs and I get my own house and I'm I'm not downtown anymore. I'm not going out or really doing a whole lot of that anymore. And
now you're isolated.
I'm really focused on football though.
Okay.
And I'm finding different ways of spending my free time. I bought a golf cart, moved onto a golf course I would go play golf every afternoon after like OTAs and practice and stuff, and I would go fish. And I was doing a lot more like quality stuff. Like would I still like drink some wine here and there, like, you know, but I wasn't really smoking anymore. I was really focused. New coaching staff for us in Cleveland. New quarterback room with Josh McCown. I was having a lot of fun. I was enjoying learning how to block protections and taking the next step as far as like evolving as a quarterback. And you know, first game of the season, Josh McCown gets hurt on the opening drive, and I have to come in and play at the Meadowlands and against the Jets and like do okay. Second week we play the Titans. Marcus Mariota's like first road game, and we win. And I remember walking off the field, being back at home. My grandparents are in town. We're watching NFL like Red Zone after, and it's like ultimate high of going and finally like winning a game from starting against the Bengals the year before and getting beat 30-0 and not scoring a point, which is like I don't think ever happened to me in my entire football career. Like unbelievable high. Like, man, I only threw the ball like 16 times or 15 times, but like made 2 really big touchdown passes in a game winner for us in the end of that game, and like felt unbelievable. Week 3 comes around, we play the Raiders, and they started Josh again, which like I love Josh McCown. We never had that kind of relationship where it was like animosity over who was starting or anything because we loved each other so much. But I was just shocked of like, damn, I went out and did what I was supposed to do. I'm doing the right things. I'm not out. I'm not fucking around. Like, I felt like that was my time to be able to start, and I was ready for it. And like, it just kind of flattened my tires a little bit. You know that's what happens, and it kind of was like one of the first things that happened throughout that season. There was like a little bit of adversity that I don't know if I handled the right way. Mm-hmm. I don't think I like really went off the rails or anything at that point in time, but definitely set me back a little bit.
Yeah, it took the wind out of your sail.
At that point in time, it's like in the NFL, it is what it is. They're going to start who they want, and you just roll with it. You be the best teammate you can be. You play your role for that week of what it is. And you know, I went back to the bench for maybe like 4 or 5 weeks or something. And it was like in that period of time where it starts to get a little cold in Cleveland again. That time of year is coming around again. I'm not playing. I don't really have much of a defined role, but I'm still like engaged. I'm still in it. And then, you know, somewhere throughout that season, I you know, things aren't going great with a girlfriend who is now living with me at the time, and it's starting to slowly unravel a little bit. I think my relationship with Cleveland is becoming really, really strained.
Sure.
I think I'm starting to ease back into some old ways a little bit here and there. And, you know, throughout that season, it just goes terribly. It goes terrible on the relationship side. It goes terrible on the football side. It goes terrible on, like, you know, and now I'm inviting my boys up to stay with me a lot. You know, they're wanting to have a good time. And, you know, it just slowly unraveled and worked myself back into a place where not exactly where I was the year before, but, like, I had shades of it. Mm-hmm. And, you know, as everybody knows, I go to Vegas at the end of that year and miss the last game of the season to go party, and it's like my last game with Cleveland. You know, just a really brutal season, and Cleveland's done with me. I'm done with Cleveland. I get cut that February, Super Bowl day. I wake up in Dallas at a friend's apartment, and we go check ESPN, and I'm like, Just rolled over and went back to sleep. I didn't care at all. I almost felt a sigh of relief.
Yeah.
And at this point in time in the off season, you know, I'm starting to spend a lot of money. I'm going out during the weeks, and I'm spending $40,000 a week. I'm spending $50,000 a week. And my dad and my accountants and everybody are like, enough. I'm like, okay, just send me $250,000 so I can go on a little bit of a run here and there and get it out of my system. And they're like, no. I'm like, what? Like, no. I'm like, okay. I called the bank, had them take every single dollar out. Send it to me. It's my money. You guys cannot stop me from doing it. I'm in a tiff with my dad. He's trying to get me to go back into rehab. I go for 5 days, but just go through the period of where I'm telling them I'm on a lot of benzos and getting Valium to kind of wean me off. Detoxing, sitting in a cabin somewhere in Texas and watching movies for 24 hours out of the day and getting shot up with Valium and just like, so I leave. I just run out, have my boy come pick me up. The cops are called.
Oh boy, for what?
I think my dad said that I was a threat to hurt myself or something, so they did the mental health.
Imagine how hard that must have been for him, you know?
Yeah, a lot of this was.
Yeah.
Him and my mom. Take me to the mental health hospital. Asked me a lot of questions, but I'm a pro at manipulation at this point. And they let me go.
They had to, probably.
Yeah, they let me go. And from that point in time, felt betrayed by my dad for trying to do that. We are completely at odds now. My management and marketing partners that worked for LeBron James, they've dropped me at this point. I'm cut in Cleveland. Me and my dad are at odds.
You're spending hella money.
Yeah, now I take my own money and I'm like, fuck you guys. And now starts the craziest bender of my life. And I go wake up and do whatever I want every single day with
Where at?
Unlimited. I started in LA. Then it's taking private jets like a taxi and $20,000, $30,000 drug bills every month, and just like really running and ripping. And it's playing from Vegas to LA and LA to Miami, New York, everywhere you thought you ever wanted to go, or every event you ever thought you ever wanted to do. And it's every day, 7 days a week, full-blown party, full-blown bender. I went on for that entire year. You know, I speak about it a lot, but from February, March until January 1st.
What year was that? January 1st, 2017. So January 1st, 2017. What happened then?
I met a girl throughout this time, who I ended up getting married to. I also got to a point where I was running pretty low on money and stuff. I expected, because my contract was guaranteed, I didn't know that I got fired or cut with cause to where they didn't owe me any more guaranteed money. So that August, September came around. That's how stupid and young I was, like not knowing how contracts worked or anything, that I was expecting to get paid. I had like $3 million left or something that I was from the Browns. I'm like, oh, I'll get half of that this year and half of it next. And then it never came. And I was kind of like, man, what the fuck? I called my agent. He's like, you got fired, cut with cause, dumbass. Like, you don't get that money. I'm like, whoa. All right. Then it was like, you know what? I missed football. I had to sit there for a whole fall of 2016 and watch games and be like, damn, I
really want to be out there.
Yeah. And she got my head on straight. You know, I kind of remotivated myself after a little while and had good people around me. She was super supportive and started working out again. Getting back in the NFL drug testing program. Trying to get back in the league, you know, meeting with teams, going through stuff, you know, thinking I'm going to get signed. It doesn't happen. Now I'm doing a podcast with Barstool, starting to work a little bit.
I've seen that.
Interested in going and doing Canadian football maybe, because I want to get back on the field and stuff. And, you know, really good there for a while. You know, I think I turned my life around in a lot of ways. I look back at like pictures of those times and see how healthy I was, like where my body got it back in shape. Like, you know, from being on like a full year-long bender and it being so bad and stuff, to see yourself like transform and come back to life and see life in your face. And like, you know, I did at some point in time throughout that year go to a 30-day rehab center in Malibu. And you know, now I'm back in treatment for 30 days. I you know, took it really serious. Really felt like it helped. Came out of there, was sober for a while. Really until I went to Canada and kind of got back in ball again and stuff. And then I was like unhappy again. I was in a place in a country where, you know, I'd been friends with Drake for so long that I'm really well known and like, you know, famous compared to what most Canadian football players are. And a lot of access, a lot of stuff. You know, got back into my partying ways a little bit. This is the point in time where I'm like, man, do I just feel this way about football whenever I'm in it, whenever I'm playing, that like I'm just maybe not happy with it type of thing. And, you know, they put a lot of stipulations in my contract up there because of what I've been through in the past, to where they like drug tested me for certain drugs, like cocaine, Molly, like the harder drugs. They didn't do it for weed, but they definitely did the harder stuff. So I was off all that, but still smoking and stuff. Hard partying a little bit here and there, but not like anything near how it was in the past.
Sure.
That season was weird. You know, I got traded from Hamilton, which was the team who had signed me, to Montreal. Montreal definitely used me for my name and certain things. You know, they traded for me on a Tuesday and started me on a Saturday, and I didn't know shit.
They didn't care.
They didn't care. It was
They wanted to sell jerseys.
It was on ESPN that Saturday. They flexed the game to ESPN, and I didn't know 5 plays. It was tough. I went out and threw 4 picks against the team I just got traded from. They knew me very well from practice. They kicked my ass. Tough.
So
yeah, tough to have everybody back home watch. And there's so much, like, I've been so good. I've done so much to get back to this point. And my time in Montreal was interesting because I could feel what they were doing and knew what they were doing. And
it didn't feel good.
no, it didn't. And, you know, at the end of that season, I knew exactly how to get out of that contract. They had me signed to come back for another year. If I retire or quit, they still hold my rights. I can't go sign with anybody else. It's a bunch of leagues that were starting in the States at that time. I knew what I had to do.
Which was?
Fail a drug test.
Okay.
That was the quickest way where they're like, well, you're out of the league. I was like, I'll take the egg on my face, and people already know that I'm fucking wild like that. And
Sure.
what does it
What's another
matter?
drug? Yeah,
At least at least I get out of my contract.
Yeah.
And remember the guy showed up at my door in LA, and I grabbed the cup with a smile on my face, like, I can't wait for you to take this back. You know, a week later, I got the letter from the commissioner. You know, you're no longer allowed in this league. Blah blah blah. I'm like, perfect. I went and met with whatever league it was at the time, the AAF, and signed to the next week. And they were like 3 or 4 weeks into their season. I packed my things up. I went to Memphis. Now I'm back in American football. I'm around guys that I had played against in college football. I'm back in the South. Things were good. You know,
Sober at the time, or moderately? Still smoking weed?
Moderately, I would think. Like, I'm in a new situation, in a new town, like, moderately.
Okay.
That goes okay for a couple weeks. A great friend of mine, Chandler Parsons, was playing for the Memphis Grizzlies, so I'm living with him. And we got a good system. He's in the middle of an NBA season. We're playing a lot of ping pong every night, like going to dinners, but I'm living in his high rise while all these other guys are living in a hotel, so I'm living great. Mm-hmm. And football's cool. We have like 6 quarterbacks on the roster, and we're all splitting time and stuff, but like at least I'm back in American football. I'm having fun being around the guys. And
yeah.
Like, it's good again.
So you're not married at this point anymore, or?
After Canada and throughout that time of being back, we are now in the process of like being separated. And as I go to Memphis, or now we're getting divorced, and like this is a whole nother thing that's like really kicking my ass mentally.
Sure.
And luckily, Mike Singletary was our coach in Memphis.
From the Browns.
From the Niners, right?
Well, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Awesome, man.
Good guy.
Yeah. I really leaned on him a lot during this stuff because I would come into meetings some days and be just so torn up about everything that was going on the personal side. It's hard for me to stay in it football-wise, but he was amazing. We go to practice one day, walking out on the field, throwing the ball around. They're like, everybody take your pads off, go back in the locker room and go back to the meeting rooms. And they're like, the league has no money. It's folded. You guys are done. Go back to the hotel, pack your stuff. We're going to try and find a way for you guys to get back home. And it was just a nightmare. Luckily I was staying with Chandler and like had just played in Canada and had money on my own to be able to like take care of myself and do what I needed to do. But it was really tough to see. A lot of guys didn't. And I had never dealt with anything like that. It was wild. And, all the positive stuff and the momentum you have for football and everything is just like gone.
Yeah, you seem to have a lot of situations which seem to take the air out of your sails, right? Or the wind out of your sail.
I guess, yeah. I mean, there's an uncontrollable thing and something that happens and why we haven't had a lot of smaller football leagues because it's expensive and you got to find a way to do it the right way. But that was interesting.
So then does that bring us like more to like, more currently, like, what happens to... Did you fly here from Arizona? Is that where you came in?
Yeah, Scottsdale.
Okay,
but,
so that's where you live?
It gets closer to that. After the divorce and separation, I I didn't really know where I was going to go, what I was going to do. And I grabbed my dog and went back to Tyler and knocked on my dad's door. It's one of the hardest things I'd ever had to do, and be like, yo, I don't really know where I'm going to go next or what I'm going to do. Like, there's no other football leagues that are like calling. That's all I've ever really known how to do. Like, what can I stay with you for a little bit? After all the turmoil and all the hostility and everything that we had been through together, he just wrapped his arms around me and said, you can stay here for as long as you need.
I feel like he was probably waiting for that day and praying for it.
He probably knew. But we, from the ride of football, and you would come up a little bit to Cleveland here and there, but my mom would come up. Now they're divorced and separated at this time, and that happened about my time whenever I had just got to Cleveland. So my mom would come up and stay with me a little bit. She was going through it. My dad's always been like, I got to work harder and figure this out, and like, just kind of keep going forward kind of guy. And, I lived with him and we played golf. And this is where I felt my mental health start to shift a lot, to where like I was really, really down and like, I'm not going to get back to the NFL.
That was becoming a reality?
Yeah. You're not going to get back. You just went and had the biggest dog shit year in Canada ever and ended up in the AAF and have failed a drug test and continued to prove why people can't trust you and why you can't be an NFL quarterback.
Wow.
So, yeah, it's definitely very much becoming realistic. So it's like, do I go back to school? Do I go find a job? But I'm still, like, getting deals and doing enough to where, like, I can get by and make $200,000-300,000 a year. And in a small town of Tyler, it's not bad for yourself. And
sure.
Things are okay. And I'm staying with my dad, and we're playing a lot of golf, and I fall in love with the game of golf. I'm playing 5-6 days a week, and I have a great group of guys, and we're gambling. And
what do you shoot? What's your handicap?
I probably started out this year and then shooting maybe in the low 80s, upper 70s, and then like very quickly, once you play 5-6 days a week and you've been around the game for a long time and you're really dedicated to it and starting to learn about it, and you're playing 18, 36 holes, however many holes a day you can fit in from the time you start at 9 or 10 in the morning. But now I'm not in nightclubs. My hours of operation aren't from 10 p.m. to 5 a.m. They're from 9 in the morning till 8, 9 o'clock at night. And I'm out in the sun every day, and I'm around good guys who are they would still drink and stuff and party or whatever. They're grown men, but they have jobs and they work. And like, I'm around solid people. I'm around my dad a lot. I'm in my old hometown with my grandparents and my family. And it changed my outlook on my mental health. It really helped me a lot. During this point in time, 2020, I go to a golf tournament, the Waste Management Open in Scottsdale. I'm staying with a friend there who was gracious enough to be like, yo, don't worry about anything. Just fly out and I'll take care of everything, where you stay, what it is, great group of friends, everything. Don't worry about anything. And I fell in love with Scottsdale. I saw the golf. I ran into people that I'd met throughout the years who were great friends and really, really hospitable and amazing to me. And I immersed myself with a great group of people.
So you found a community.
Yeah, I found great golf. I found great people. I found people that treated me for me instead of being Johnny Football. I found sunshine and sun and outdoors, and also had a party vibe to it. So my first 2 or 3 years in Scottsdale were, golf and partying for the most part. My mental health was a lot better. I was just trying and struggling and looking for like finding a sense of like just being happy.
Yeah,
just waking up every day and being happy, and like the addiction side of things didn't really wasn't worried about it, wasn't thinking about it because I was doing better. Not on the dark side of life anymore. I'm so far removed from that Bender year and where I had been in the past and the sadness and everything that like I'm learning a lot about myself. I'm partying in a way different way than I ever was before, and like I'm happy. I still have like moments where I can continue to like be better, but I start to find myself in Scottsdale.
Okay.
And I start to get happy again, and the golf really helped me. The friends really helped me. The support, the people I kept around me. I'm hanging around people with families who are older, and I'm getting to know their kids. And they're treating me like another one of their kids, family. You know, I'm spending my summers in Chicago. I'm playing golf every day. I'm around great people.
Well, it sounds to me like you're starting to appreciate the things that actually matter in life.
Yeah, and I don't want to be famous. I like Scottsdale because there are a lot of retired athletes there, and people leave me alone for the most part. And I wanted to hide. Like, that's what Tyler gave me the opportunity to do going back home. Is like, yeah, I was well known because I was a Texas guy, but people knew what I was going through and what I had been through, and they respected that and were polite. I needed love.
Yeah.
I had enough hate.
Yep.
I had enough. You fucked your life up, and no shit. Oh shit, I'm the one that has to live with that.
Yeah.
I'm the one that has to deal with it every day. I'm the one that has to look in the mirror knowing what I did wrong.
I don't need you to remind me of that.
Yeah, even though it's going to happen, it is what it is. People see my story in my life of there's nothing worse in life than wasted talent, and I did that.
I don't necessarily agree with that. Well, I agree with the statement. I don't necessarily agree that yours is wasted per se. You achieved quite a bit, and whether or not you ended up becoming a Tom Brady of the NFL or not, listen, you already reached certain heights, and the impact that you had on the game and the way you played, like that's going to stay
Nobody
there
can
forever.
ever take that away from me.
They can't take it away from you.
Nobody can.
No.
Everything happens for a reason, and of
so
course
glad to hear
that
you say
sounds
that.
cliche, and some people will believe it, some people won't. But maybe I'm meant for different things in life. Maybe my story is meant to be a cautionary tale. Maybe my story is to help other people.
There it is.
Maybe my story wasn't meant to end in Super Bowl rings, and maybe that would have been too much greatness for me to handle. Maybe it went the way it went to teach me a lesson about life and also teach the next person a lesson about life. I've been very humbled by the failure. Way more than I ever could have been from the success. I learned a lot more about life from the bad. I have dealt with, attempts of trying to take my own life, struggles immensely mentally to where I've learned a lot about myself, what's good for me, what to stay away from, people to surround myself with, a support system that I'm very thankful for. I have a sister that loves me to death and picks up the phone and have an unbelievable relationship and really is my go-to point when I get to a verge of crashing out or having moments. And I'm not all that far removed from still having crazy mental breaks.
No, nobody is though.
I'm not that far removed from still having a month where I can go on an absolute bender. Now, is it a lot different than it was before, and I'm a lot more reserved in how I handle myself and how I treat myself and what goes on during that? Mm-hmm. Sure.
Sounds like you've had a lot of perspective change.
Life is all about perspective. There are times where, because of the way my brain is wired and because of the way that I am, that I will get into phases at times where I can't shift that perspective myself. This year, for example, went through a really hard breakup in February with the person that I had an immense amount of love for, and brought a lot of joy and happiness into my life, and somebody that I expected to be with for a long time. But because of certain personal things in my life and where I was at, even when I can have everything that I want, things are going well, I can still get into a little bit of a depressive funk just because there's times where I see myself in the light that other people see me in and what you're able to read online or see. And your failures get thrown in your face so much that sometimes even you believe them.
Yeah, absolutely. I can imagine it would be hard not to.
It's hard for me. As much as I love football and love watching football, sometimes it's hard for me.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's better for me to block things out of my mind and not do it or not watch it or not be a part of it. And I can go through phases where, I have good things going in my life and adversity will hit and sometimes it sends me in the tank. And it's really hard for me to shift my perspective and get out of a mindset. And, after this relationship ended, I took it really, really hard. Went into a crazy depression and one that was scary for me, scary for the people around me. And, I really isolate in those moments, and I'll sit and watch a lot of Twitch, a lot of video games, and I'll watch a lot of movies, and I won't leave bed for multiple days and stay in a dark room. And, I have an unbelievable manager right now in Liz that's like, she understands me and who I am. She's cared enough to get to know me and get to know how I'm operating, how I'm wired through my family, through being around me and speaking to my friends and really giving a shit. And I never really had that since I got cut and got dropped by my marketing team and my agent and stuff. And she's changed my life for the better. Got me reacclimated into business and into life. And, over the course of the last year and a half, I've built this podcast up and really given me structure and really given me schedule, giving me opportunities like the one here today to come and speak to you and do this. And
so thankful.
Have an unbelievable schedule and an unbelievable story to be able to keep myself really busy, use the good things that I have going on in golf. And like, there's a lot of things that we're doing right now that are really positive for me. I feel like I am given a second chance on life. I feel like I have a ton of momentum and positivity, really from the documentary coming out to be able to tell my story and get a lot of that off my chest, really from the Shannon interview, which was so good for me to be able to come out and just be like, here's what it is. You can think of me the way you want. I don't care. This is what happened and what it is. I'm not hiding from you anymore. I am the way that I am. You can accept me or you cannot, and that's okay. I'm not going to be liked by everybody.
Nope.
I'm not doing everything right. I am still very much learning and figuring things out. I know there's certain things for me in the future that are going to be coming that I know that I want to prioritize for myself, my health, getting back into. It's hard being a all-time, at one point in time, one of the best athletes on the face of the earth, and then I don't work out that much anymore. And
sure.
There's certain things I want to do for myself, habits that I've had throughout the years that I want to break, and this is one of those years for me. But to speak a little bit about going into this year and how bad things were, I couldn't get myself out of this funk. I couldn't pull myself from this hole and shift my perspective. It was all dark and all negative. Now I've ruined this relationship that I really, really wanted and poured a lot of my time and my heart and my soul into. Football is still kicking my ass and eating me alive about the things and mistakes that I've done in the past. And, I'm struggling. I'm really hanging on by a thread.
In those moments of depression and darkness, unfortunately, I feel like the disease of addiction has an uncanny ability to bring up everything that's ever negative that's happened in your life all at once, so it can continue to gut punch you.
Sometimes when I get sober, it gets that way too, where it gets really, really real. Even throughout this year after this happened, I wasn't really drinking. I wasn't going out. I wasn't smoking.
Yeah, but you were miserable because you didn't have some sort of.
Yeah, I think. Your mind is something you really have to stay on top of and be self-aware and know what's going on and speak to people around you who really know you and understand what's worked for you in the past and really and as much as people speak about my relationship with Drake, I thank God for him as a friend and as a brother. I went to Miami for a friend's birthday. This was maybe 4 months ago, and I'm still
coming out of the ick.
I'm still in it. I tried to be let's go to one of my favorite hotels, which is a super happy place for me that I love so much, and let's just try and grasp a little bit of happiness for a little bit. And during this trip, Drake calls me, and he's like, "Oh, you want to come to Toronto?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I do." And I went to Toronto and got around people that I had known since I was 18 years old when I first, people that loved me for me, that never really we originally met because I was Johnny Football, but I think they had seen me through so much, seen my whole story, me as a kid, and they loved me for my core of who I am as a human being.
Sure.
And I got around love, and I got around people who were positive and were like, who cares if your NFL career didn't go the way you thought it should have or other people thought it should have? Who really cares? You have done so much. You are an amazing person, an amazing friend to us, no matter what's happened. And he invited me to go on this tour. And he really just like picked me up by the back of my shirt and was just like, yo, I'm going to help you. I'm going to help you get out of this funk. I'm going to help you surround
life's good.
you.
Let me try to help you show it.
Surround you with love.
Yeah.
I'm going to surround you with people who think you're amazing, who really care about you, who want you to be around. I want you to be around.
Yeah.
And I went on a 3-month tour with him. And I saw the world in a way that I'd never seen before. Truly like life-changing and unbelievable experience that I'll tell my kids about one day. That's like, you know, I repaired relationships with people throughout the past. You know, I think I didn't represent OVO always in the best light whenever I was, you know, I've been friends with him since 2012. You know, that's 13 years now. Mm-hmm. You know, I've seen a lot of his career, a lot of his trajectory. I've been there for a lot of it. You know, making songs about me, our relationship, countless nights and trips and times and everything. And I got around people who really gave a shit about me and really cared. And it's a brotherhood in a sense to where everything that they've been through, they've really gotten really close and tight. Yeah. And a lot of the people who were there for the wrong reasons and stuff are not there anymore. And man, he really just picked me up and lifted me up and showed me love and positivity and surrounded me with people who really cared about me. And I'm sitting here now 3 months later with a whole new perspective on life, a whole new perspective of being on this trip, really finding out who I am, mm-hmm. and appreciating exactly what I've done, appreciating the opportunity for second chance and to be able to build my life, still have enough like fame and notoriety and connections to still be viewed at and talked about and work.
Yeah.
Still have opportunities to do things with never really having worked a day in my life and like learning how to build the podcast and the business side of things that I want to do and making connections and showing up on time, being reliable, being accountable, and being a better person than I have been in the past. And it's a journey. I still have my moments where, as anybody else does, where like, you know, you have those negative sides of yourself that come out, but if you can, you know, realize that and recognize that and try and be better moving forward, I think it's one that you're doing a lot more than most people.
Yeah.
And
it's a day at a time, right?
It is. It's the same approach a lot of people take with AA and with addiction. And yeah, so I have a lot of goals, a lot of things that, you know, areas of my life that I'm looking at, wanting to improve and wanting to get better. And that's really where I'm at in life right now. Like I'm working quite a bit because I have been gone for 3 months. It's always the fall. It's always college football season. I want to be back at Texas A&M. I want to try and help this team get to the points and the heights that they want to be. I want to spend time with my family and be around my 3 nieces and my sister and my mom and my dad. I want to play golf, and I want to continue to try and be the best person I can be. Look, my story's amazing, and when you get a chance to sit down like today and tell it in the way, you know, there's a lot of things that I have shared, a lot of things that I haven't shared today, but you know, something that is really always, I think, fulfilling and helpful, and just like positive for me, right? I don't have anything to hide.
I don't think you realize how many people you're probably going to help just today, just by coming on and saying, you know, you're going through stuff. You know, I don't think the reason why we reach out to people like yourself is to, you know. Most people will put you on a pedestal, and then of course they expect you to be this perfect human being. But there's no such thing, right? And at the end of the day, we all struggle with life, you know. And life is not easy all the time, and especially, you know, you mentioned mental health. Like when you have that on top of it, you know, you just got to there's you know, you got to be extra sensitive to some of these things. And it sounds like you got the recipe, man. The community aspect of it, surrounding yourself with people that love you. Shout out Drake and anybody that's just really helpful to a friend that may be going through a rough time.
I think as people, you know, I have a lot of friends who are now sober, guys who you would have never thought would be able to get there. One of my great childhood friends from growing up is, you know, who's in probably 6-7 rehabs throughout the years, was a really wild partier, and he's been 2 years sober now. He moved to Scottsdale as well. We still have a really good relationship. He's been working at a rehab center for the last 2 years and is like really into it, and it's really changed his life. And we had a talk yesterday And I'm the person that, if he calls me 2 times in a row where he's at and what he's kind of like, he's having that internal battle of like having that moment where you take the one drink and it all changes and stuff. And, I'm able to be there and be that for him. I support him in that. I love him for that. I love the way that he's changed his life and what he's done. It's inspiring to see. It's inspiring to hear the stories that you hear. That's why AA and the meetings and 12-step and everything is so powerful, because when people do share, you realize how alone you're not.
You're not.
Yeah, and
you're not different.
And as bad as you think it may have been for you at one point in time, I guarantee you there's somebody in the room that'll share that it was a million times worse and was a lot closer to death or a lot crazier or wilder than you could have ever imagined. And the sober community is an amazing community, but one that's also different, right? Like, it is the societal norm to drink, and it's advertised in this, and it's some people can do it and still be effective in their life. Some people have a disease that unravels their life like a ball of yarn rolling down a hill at a very fast pace.
Quickly.
Yeah, quickly.
Yeah, quickly.
So I have a ton of respect and admiration for the people that do that in their life. And that'll come for me one day. That will be my life one day.
Well, it sounds to me that, like, you're on the right path.
I know it, and I'm getting closer to it.
I love that
for sure.
And whatever life brings, it sounds like you're literally restarting your comeback as right now. I mean, we would absolutely love to continue to follow as fans.
I just am starting to enjoy the podcasting stuff and being on the other side of the mic and being able to interview guys and hear stories that I'm interested in. I have an amazing team around me that I think is doing a great job, and I'm more interested in doing certain things in business. I have an amazing manager, like I said, in Liz, that has changed my life and my perspective on a lot of things. And, I understand who I am. I understand what I want to be moving forward. I understand that I'm not perfect and I'll never be able to make up for all the mistakes and things I've done in the past. But I'm kind of done looking at life through a rearview mirror type of perspective. And what's done is done. I wasn't perfect. I made a ton of mistakes. It was very public. It was very in your face. And some people will understand that. Some people will understand my story, and some people won't.
And it's all okay.
Yeah, I'm very much looking forward to being the best person that I can be moving forward and trying to make the best decisions that I can for myself and for my family and for the people around me that really, really matter. And that's really what it is.
Yeah, that's an important place to get to. Especially at your age. Like, I mean, you still have, if you think about it.
I'm 32. I have a lot of life left to live. And I have a lot of lessons that I've taught myself the hard way. Other people, I've had amazing people in my life. I've been so blessed and fortunate to, throughout these years, surround myself with just great salt of the earth, genuine people. And I'm very much getting into a place where I'm surrounding myself with those people more and more often, because at the end of the day, you are what you hang around.
Yep.
And you're going to go the way your friend group goes and who you spend the majority of your time with. If you surround yourself with people who are motivated and working hard and making money and being successful and having morals and values and doing the right things, you will slowly but surely become what you hang around. Or you can hang around shit, and if you hang around that long enough, you'll definitely get some on you. And that's what my dad's always told me. So
wise words.
That's where I'm at. I'm steering away from the dark side and trying to steer away from when that perspective gets shifted and tilted into a dark place. I feel like I have tools and tips and things to now know what I need to do to get myself out of those holes. Easier said than done when you're in it. But
Always.
More than anything, lean on the people that know you the best and love you the most. And listen to things that are tough to hear.
Well, after, following you for as long as I have, seeing you in this position right now across the table from me with all that wisdom at this point, I'm proud of you. I'm happy for you. That's
Thanks.
great. It's really a cool thing to hear. And quite honestly, I feel excited for you, mostly because it seems like your comeback's just getting started and what you're capable of, not even on the field. Like,
it's a comeback to
in
life.
Yeah.
And I think, I had a brand that I was doing years ago that was comeback season, and it was definitely more about coming back to football and this and that. But one of the things that we would always say during that was, in life, we're all coming back from something, right? It's a setback, it's a heartbreak, it's losing your job or losing a family member. Like, you are continuously life hit with things from the devil, things through adversity, things that just a tree branch falls over and dents your car into a million pieces, and you don't have whatever it may be.
Whatever it may be.
You are coming back from things in life consistently, and life is all about how you come back from things and how you handle it moving forward. You can be bitter, you can be mad, you can sulk, you can pout, or you can chin up and move through things with the best of your ability, even when it's hard, even when you don't want to, and keep going forward. And the most powerful people in this world are the ones that are relentless in that pursuit of continuing forward and continuing for their own level or version of greatness, and whatever that is.
Never give up.
You can't.
Never give up.
There's been times where I've wanted to and almost have in the past, and I thank God every day that I'm continuously here to be able to try and strive to be the best person that I can be and the person that I want to be in this life. Because at the end of the day, people will judge you in your life no matter what. But when you end up on your deathbed at the end of your road and end of your life, the only person that's really going to judge if it was a success or not is yourself. And what you did and what you left behind is only what you want it to be. Nobody else can tell you anything about that. And that's the way that I view it, and that's the way that I'm going to go through this life, believing. And if I can look back one day and say that I maybe made the world a little bit better in my own regard, I did the right things, I tried at some point in time to leave the world better than you found it, I think that's a success in life.
Take that to the bank.
For sure.
Take that to the bank. Thank you so much for your time, Johnny.
I appreciate you.
Really
brother.
appreciate you having here. It's been a pleasure, sincerely.
Thanks for having me, brother.